Hey, beautiful souls, and welcome to Around the Kitchen Table, a space for honest conversations, stories from the heart, and gentle reminders that we're all walking each other home. I'm Laura Island, mother, creative, soul led CEO of Sacred Sister CIC, and the woman behind Wise Sacred Woman. I'm a witch with ADHD. And this podcast is where we gather to share the real, raw, and radiant parts of life. Each week, we'll explore what it means to live in rhythm with ourselves, with nature, and with one another. We'll talk about womanhood, sisterhood, creativity, leadership, spirituality, and the messy magic of being a human. So pour yourself a cuppa, get comfy, and let's meet here around the kitchen table, where stories are medicine and every voice belongs. Hey sisters, welcome back to Around the Kitchen Table. Pop the kettle on, or get cozy, or take me for a walk, because today we are sitting at a threshold. We're sitting at the threshold of the spring equinox, the moment where day and night meet as equals, light and dark, held in perfect balance. It's a perfect time to take a little pause, a little moment. And there is something about this time that you don't just see in nature, you feel it in your body, in your energy, in your emotions. There's a stirring, like something is waking up. I'm actually recording this with a cup of tea on Thursday afternoon. I've had a fairly long week, it feels like. And recognizing that I'm traversing through so many stages of things that are happening in my life, like many things that are culminating, many things that have kind of been in the background that are just starting to kind of slowly wake up as well. And that sense of like, okay, now I can start to move forward. Now I can start to really kind of ramp up the excitement for the things that have been in the calendar and weaving, like our gathering and, like the potential of a little camp, like some retreats, like the possibility of a local project here in Weston-super-Mare, like just all these little threads that feel like they haven't quite been ready. And then this week is like, okay, I can feel the wheels slowly turning and the kind of movement back into presence in myself, and the kind of waking up earlier with the birds singing, and the kind of, the fact that the sun is still out right now, and just that sense of what is it to really, really feel it in your body. Long before calendars and clocks, we lived on the land, we lived by the land. And this moment, the spring equinox, is a really sacred time. If you can hear that in the background, that's my neighbour mowing his lawn. That's the other thing that happens right now, right? Everyone gets out, they mow the lawn. I'm going to leave ours. There's so many daisies popping up. It's beautiful. But this time was sacred. It was known as Ostara in pagan traditions. It marked the return of the light, the fertility of the earth, and the beginning of growing season. You know, the seasons weren't just about kind of, some pagan mystical ritual. Like as much as they are, and we can grasp onto those things. There's also the time where Christianity came and kind of took over and turned Ostara into Easter, right? And all the other kind of aspects of all sorts of things that happened. But when we really come back it's to the roots, like when we lived on the land, we told the time by those things, those traditions. We knew that growing season started now because that's when the earth warmed up. And seeds were planted with intention, and fires were lit to welcome the sun, and eggs became symbols of life and potential, not just made of chocolate. And this just wasn't a date in the diary, it was a remembering. no matter how long the winter, life always returns. And I don't know about you, but this winter felt long, really long. And I think as I get older, I feel it more and more, you know. The truth is, you don't need to be told that there's a shift. Like you can begin to feel it in your body because your body already knows. You might notice a little more energy returning, a desire to clear, clean, open the windows, a pull to be outside more, ideas beginning to form, and perhaps a quiet restlessness that something is shifting. This is your inner spring. You're not separate from nature, you are nature. So, feeling that, what's really moving you? This morning I did a thing, right. I've got dreadlocks. For those of you listening to this, not watching it, maybe you've never seen me. This morning, everything got a trim. The ends got a trim off. It just feels fresher and lighter. I did a podcast today. No, I didn't. This is my podcast. I did a reel today, social media, and it was all about how I was a beauty therapist for years. I know, surprisingly now looking at me, but how my I looked, my makeup, my hair was all perfect, and I still one of the things that I do religiously and have done it since I was 12 years old is to look after my skin. Now, I didn't come from a mum who looked after her skin. It was just an intrinsic thing for me to nurture myself and to look after my skin. And so this morning, everything had a scrub, everything, my body had a scrub. It was so lush because actually everything just gets a bit dry, shriveled up over winter. And that's the time that we should be doing it. That's the time when we should be looking after our skin better. But actually, it's not until you start to think about taking off some layers that you really go, oh, actually, that needs to happen. And so this morning, everything, even my body got kind of, that spring clean and like let's just slough up all of the winter. So your inner spring isn't just something that happens once a year. Spring shows up again and again in your life after a hard season, after grief, after burnout, after endings. It's the moment where something in you whispers, I think I'm ready, not fully bloomed, but no longer in the dark. And we often rush this part. We want the full bloom, but spring says gently, softly, begin again. And I speak a lot in the sanctuary about, what it is to live a cyclical life. You have an inner spring in your cycle. You have a spring in life, you know. We go through seasons in a year, but we go through them in a month as a woman. So that spring moment where, we're in our fertile stage, ovulation. It's like we go through these times. So it feels really important to begin to notice them. And I think as I've got older, like I'm 50 now, I feel like as I've come through my menopause and I'm out the other side of that, and I say I'm out the other side of it, let's just speak to that for a moment. I'm 50. Many women are still just traversing like the start of menopause, but I had a hysterectomy at 40, so 10 years ago. In fact, just over 10 years ago, February. And when I had my menopause, I was a little bit blasé. I was like, when I've had menopause, God, my words. Maybe I'm not through it. I think I'm still there, straightening up my chair. Oh. Um, when I had my hysterectomy, I went into surgical menopause. And for me, it was like, that's it. Like part of my brain was so relieved because of the medical conditions I had that were removed because of my surgery. It was like, phew, like actually I can relax now. I've kind of gone through that and I'm straight into menopause and straight onto HRT. Those are the things that you kind of have to do through the medical profession. And I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm good. I've got this. I can sail through this. I'm really good. And then at 44, the wheels fell off. It was like, oh, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where my life is. I mean, it was also the time I started Sacred Sister. I felt really lost. I felt like I something had got up and like I'd abandoned myself somewhere along the line. I felt the deep need to rest and pause, and I couldn't. It was like I just needed to keep going all the time. I lost my confidence. I lost my ability to show up. I lost the sense of safety in myself. I lost, oh wow, that's big. I lost so much of myself. My body changed, my hair changed, my skin changed, my itchy ears. Let's talk about itchy ears. Like, oh my God, just so many aspects. I didn't know that we were going to talk about menopause today, so that's a fun one. Um, and so I now teach and speak to, the transition, the spiritual transition of menopause, because it's not just a medical phenomena. And I'm the first person that would say, don't shy away from medical support for your symptoms. If you need HRT, take the HRT. Like, I'm not here to tell you you shouldn't. I was on it for 10 years. I came off of it 18 months ago now, I guess. But that's because I'd been on it 10 years because of my hysterectomy. And I just, in fact, to be fair, it just ran out. And I thought, okay, now's as good a time as any. But I'd tried coming off a few times before, and it was hellish. Whereas I just felt ready. I felt like I had kind of come through a transition, and I had tools in place. And one of those tools was what I call the goddess morning, how I wake up every day, how I look after myself, how I give myself time and space before I lay into the rest of the world, how I look after myself in the way that I show up. And I we are about to go into something in the sanctuary called the Awakening, and it's a 21-day process. It's like a reset process. And I honestly, if you're a menopausal woman, you should get in the sanctuary and just do it with me, because that's what changed my life. And I don't say that lightly. It's not like yeah, it changed my life, you should do it. It absolutely 100% changed my life. And so I'm now who I am. And it's only really, I would say, the last 6 months that I've really kind of been able to go, this is 50. This is postmenopause. This is the space where I was talking to a lady today, and she said, I'm so looking forward to getting to 50. 50 is amazing. Like, I see so many amazingly strong, powerful, take no shit women, and they're all past their 50s or in their 50s. And I was like, yeah, there is definitely a no shits given kind of moment. But you can't hear that when you're in your 40s and menopause is struck and you feel like shit. It's hard. But also, let me just remind you that the symptoms of high cortisol and stress in our body and the symptoms of menopause are the same. And the reason why menopause is now such a big thing is not because suddenly we know more about it and science is clever. Those symptoms were always there. But most of the women that I know that went through that, like my mom, and didn't have the same stress on them as we do now as women. They didn't work in the same way that we do. They did work. My mom was a hairdresser, she worked, but she didn't have the same kind of, you know, drive and patterning that we did. But also, I realized I was like, I don't really remember my mum going through menopause. And to be fair, she had a hysterectomy at 35. So, but I know she would have gone through some times. She had hot sweats for like 20 years. Do you know what I mean? Um, but I left home at 17. I left home at 17 when my mum was 50, a bit younger. My mum was probably a bit younger. I'm just trying to do the maths in my head. 1950. I can't even think. There's no point even trying. But yeah, I was up and gone. And because we're having children later and later and later in life, like we get to this stage and we've still got kids that are dependent on us. Some of us are really young. Some of us have got teenage girls. Hands up all the mums of a teenage girl whilst you're going through menopause. It's hard. It's hard. So I really want to speak to that. I didn't know this was coming today, but I really want to speak to that kind of place of like, What is it to feel all of those parts of yourself? Because this is not the spring of our life, right? We're moving into our queendom, I like to call it. We're all queen ages and we're moving into a different phase of life. It's a little bit gentler. Your wisdom is deeper. Like I just trust myself in a way that I didn't before. But we have to go through it. And it takes time and it takes energy and it takes awareness. And it's not like I just woke up one day and went, oh, I'm there now. It was like, it was a journey. So, yeah, you should probably check out the sanctuary. It's the doors are opening again. Anyway, I'll tell you about that in a moment. But there's something else I want to share with you and I want to speak to because I've been feeling it and I know many of you will have been feeling it too. And I read something today that is from a really good sister called Rebecca Shaman. Um, she's does a lot of astrology and she writes a beautiful kind of write up about the moon. Maybe if I can find it, I'll pop it in the show notes here. Um, but it's like we're really feeling this sense of the in-between moment where something is shifting, but we can't quite see what it is yet. Where the old ways don't quite fit anymore, but the new hasn't fully landed. And that can feel really unsettling, can bring up anxiety, uncertainty, and a sense of not knowing what's coming next. And I think maybe why we were having a conversation about menopause, because that feels like that very place, the in-between moment, the threshold, the juxtaposition between where you've been and where you're going. And this time, spring equinox is that. It's like that threshold moment between the winter and the spring. We're not quite in spring fully, and we're definitely past winter now. But what I want to remind you is this: you don't need to know. Spring doesn't force the bloom, it doesn't rush the becoming, it trusts the unfolding. And this is the invitation right now to soften and to surrender and to come back to what is real and present. Because in times like this, your attention is everything. Where you place your focus is what grows, right? So instead of getting pulled into fear or the noise of everything happening out there, come back here to your breath, to your body, to the earth beneath your feet, because this is where your power is when you really come back home to yourself. We're also traversing this amazing time. I'm not an astrologer, but I do lean into the moon cycles. Like that's what I feel. That's all wisdom that I know. And so we're in this new moon and that's coming up big. I've got a new moon ritual with the women inside the sanctuary tonight. And then tomorrow we're in spring equinox, and the following day, in fact, tomorrow Mercury goes direct again, stations direct after retrograde. Retrograde is always a crazy 3 weeks for me. It's like this bonkers time where everything tech stuff goes mad, things don't work. It's all a bit chaotic. So, we're coming back to the right feeling of this time. And this is where ritual becomes so powerful, not as something rigid, but as a way of meeting yourself in these moments. Ritual is simply choosing to make something sacred. I can make the washing up into a ritual. And the deeper truth is that you don't need my ritual. You don't need anyone else's words. You already feel what the moment is asking of you. And the question is, are you listening? Are you listening? So, sometimes ritual is as simple as stopping, pausing, really listening. I've been doing a ritual online on our social media. So you could go find that. And it basically is I called it the 8 days to spring, 8 seeds of spring, because like we did the 13 magical nights, the 8 seeds of spring are to write down 8 things that you are drawing into your life. So not in terms of goals and manifestations and things you want, but in like the ways that you want to show up. Maybe you want more presence or more ritual or more peace or more joy or less chaos or more courage. And you write those things down and you place them somewhere sacred. And then each night I've just been doing a little burning ritual. But whereas over the 13 sacred nights, I really loved kind of leaning into the blessing and the words. And I felt so drawn this time round to be like, what are your words? What are your words? What do you need to say for this moment? What is coming up for you? because that's where you get to really listen. So find those on our socials if you want to. Um, what else do I want to talk to you about? Five simple ways. 5 simple ways to mark the equinox. If you want somewhere to begin and you're not sure, I mean, you can Google and ChatGPT the absolute bejeebies out of this stuff. It'll tell you all day long. I love the fact that I had a lady who connected with me yesterday and she was like, I'm just a little baby witch just starting. It's like, none of us are baby witches. Like, we all know. It's in us. If we're really feeling it, it's in us. We understand it, whether you call yourself a witch or not. Like the deep feminine knows. So if you want somewhere to begin, maybe a little light and dark ritual, light a candle, sit with both. What is leaving and what is arriving, the light and the dark, the light and the shadow. Just be prepared to sit with both of those things. Clear your space, open the windows, move things around, let fresh air in. We talk about spring cleaning, right? Like it's some magical oddity, like, it's just a thing we do, we spring clean. And yeah, there's the practical reality. So I'm just slapping my tea. Mm. There's the practical reality of, living in a house that's been a little bit stale over winter or the windows have been closed. Like open the windows, let the fresh air in, clear out the cobwebs, but it's more than that. Like use it as an energetic sweep of your house. I just open all the windows and take everything out. Plant something, even if it's herbs in your kitchen. Connect with the act of growing something. Move your body, walk, stretch, dance. Gently wake yourself up and create your own ritual. This is the most important one. What do you need right now? And create that ritual. But even simpler than that, here's 5 things, right? That are really super, 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 super simple. One, go outside, put your feet on the ground, your bare feet, and really root and ground your energy. Two, make yourself a cup of tea and stop long enough to drink it whilst it's still warm and pause and enjoy the cup of tea. Three, have a good scrub. Make your, even if you make the simplest salt scrub, right? Some sea salt in some olive oil and just scrub your body and warm up your body and get rid of all that dead skin and all the winter. That's three. Four, eat something that grows in the ground. And five, do you know what? Number five, go buy yourself some flowers. Put them on a little altar at home. Stick them in a vase. Get yourself some flowers. Like bring nature inside, you know? So there's a few things, there's lots there. And if you love working with like the physical anchors, you might be drawn to the colours of soft greens and yellows and blush pinks, fresh foods, greens, sprouts, herbs, eggs, flowers, daffodils, tulips, blossoms off the trees. And crystals, if you're into crystals, working with things like rose quartz and green aventurine and citrine, like rose quartz for that love and that heart energy, green aventurine and citrine for really calling in that clarity and abundance. And archetypes like Ostara, Persephone returning from the underworld, the maiden, curious and open, beginning again. None of these are rules, right? Like they are invitations. And they're invitations. Anything that you feel is always an invitation. And like I said, you'll have many springs in your life, moments where you begin again. And the more you recognize them, the more you stop forcing yourself to be fully bloomed all the time, the more you begin to trust the rhythm. And that's what reclamation is really about. Some of you may have already seen this. Some of you have maybe signed up for it. There's over 50 of you so far signed up. And it's funny, isn't it? I see other people, they're like, 4,000 people signed up to my webinar. And I'm like, oh, do you know what? I'd rather have 50 of you that absolutely want to be there and get it than 4,000 of you that just are there or might not even show up. So if this calls to you, Reclamation, it was a 60-minute live ritual that I'm going to do this Saturday at 4 p.m. UK time. And at 5 p.m., there's a calling to pause for 5 minutes. I'll share this again in the show notes if I can find it. It's been coming up on my socials. You all know that we did One Voice Rising a couple of weeks ago. Freaking blew me away. It's still blowing me away now. It was very sweet, actually. I had a message from one of the women I ran it with, and she said to me, it was the first time we'd worked together, and she said there was something about you in that day, just a deep presence where you weren't fazed by anything, you just got on with it. And you weren't on an adrenaline high and you weren't on an ego push. It was just really beautiful. And if I'm to sit and really notice something about myself in menopause, it's that. It's that place of real inner peace that can't be rocked. I mean, it can be. I have a teenager who just threw a toilet roll down the stairs at me, so it can be rocked. But fundamentally, it's very stable. So reclamation is really about coming into a place where you can really own your stories, not looking outside of yourself for every answer, not outsourcing your knowing, and really coming home to your inner wisdom. It's remembering that you already know, your body knows, and your truth is there. And reclamation is really about peeling back all the noise and returning to that place within you. So if you feel that call, I've created this free ritual that we're going to do on Saturday, 4 p.m. And again, I'll pop it in the show notes, and we'll really explore exactly that, like how we become disconnected from ourselves, what old stories and patterns we're living through in every day that are actually ruling our life, and how we begin to totally come back to trusting and listening to ourselves. So, here's a few journal prompts for you. Before we close, I want to leave you with these three reflections. What am I ready to release as I step into this new season? What am I ready to release as I step into this new season? This is the new year. Like, hit it with the same energy that you hit January the 1st without a hangover, preferably, because actually, this is the writing of the wheel of the year. This is when it really starts. What is quietly beginning to emerge within you? What little spark is slowly beginning to wake up? And again, coming back to reclamation, that's why reclamation is so powerful, because we don't manifest our goals just by magically kind of manifesting our goals, creating a vision board and hoping it's all going to just come to life, right? The reason vision boards work is because we've aligned something within ourselves. We've stepped over those stories to really connect. So I really want to that's the work for me. And where in my life am I really being asked to begin again, gently, without force? Where am I really being asked to begin again? So I thought I'd just complete today with a little meditation for you. Please don't do this if you're driving your car and listening to me. Oh, do you know, I keep getting an itchy nose. It happened last night whilst I was on the last of our rooted journey within the sanctuary. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the sanctuary quickly. Do you know about the sanctuary? The sanctuary is, I'm going to use this in inverted commas, our membership space, because it's so much more than that. Like, it's not something you just sign up to and it's just like, whatever. It's a journey. All the journeys that I used to do and I've done over the years that I would be constantly in launch with, I don't do that anymore. It's all housed inside the sanctuary. And we've just had the doors closed on it for 6 weeks because I did a deep dive with the women inside of that called Rooted. And that rooted journey in and of itself is like it's just unbelievable. The feedback and the connections and the transitions that these women have been through is just so powerful. But we work through the wheel of the year with what's arising. So from that place, we're now moving into awakening. And awakening is this 21-day reset, like I said to you. And then from there, we'll move into Beltane and we hit a rhythm there. So it's not a monthly rhythm. It's a rhythm with the cycle of the year, the rhythm with the moons. We do a new moon ritual and a full moon ritual. After the new moon, we do a Sunday in a dance, and that's a real embodiment. So it's all held in the three pillars of Sacred Sister. You know, awareness is our first pillar. Like, without being aware of what's going on for you and your internal makeup, your wounds, your patterns, nothing can heal and change. Nothing. Everything has to start with an awareness. And then, you know, from there we can go to healing. Like, once we are aware of it, we can heal. We can begin to heal. We can begin to find that healing within ourselves. And from our healing, we move into embodiment. How do we live this new way of being every day? How do we shake off and shift what needs to be moved through our body? And through those three pillars, we find knowledge, like we get wisdom, we hear ourselves, we listen to ourselves, we get power because we can rise from that place of like knowing who we are. And we get purpose because we absolutely begin to live the best life that we came here to live, because all of that other stuff is gone. We can create new stories, new foundations. We know where we're headed and we know where we're going. We've got purpose. And all of those things are housed inside of the sanctuary. So if that interests you, again, probably jump on reclamation, because that's going to be a kind of starting point to the doors being back open. Um, but I will put the links in as well for the sanctuary so you could check it out, because I think I probably sneakily already got it ready to go. So you might as well know about it too. Um, yeah, it's exciting. It's a beautiful journey, and it's based around a year-long journey. Many of the women there are in for life, like they're never going to leave, because actually the sense of community and what you get from it are just so powerful. So anyway, that's a bit about the sanctuary. So let's just take a moment together. Close your eyes if that feels safe for you to do so, and begin to take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. I'm laughing as we do this because it's suddenly gotten very peaceful outside and I can hear the birds singing. So again, with your slow inhale and exhale, inviting you to draw all of your energy back inwards. Wherever you've been in this day, however it's been for you, just draw everything in and know that right now in this moment you are the only thing that matters. You are the most important pivotal point of your life. Now imagine that you're standing at the edge of a field. The earth is soft beneath your feet. The air feels lighter, softer, warmer. There is a quiet sense of possibility here. Nothing needs to be rushed. Nothing needs to be forced. Just notice what is beginning to rise within you. A feeling, a knowing, a small seed of something new. Place your hand on your heart and gently say to yourself, I am ready. I am ready. Not for everything, just for the next step. One breath, one moment, one beginning. Take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. Feeling that deeper sense of peace within you. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So thank you for sitting with me today, for taking this moment and for honoring where you are. I'm just laughing because my office now is getting a little bit darker as the sun is beginning to move behind the trees and to set. I'm going to get ready for our new moon ritual for this evening. And if this resonated, share it with a sister. Leave a review, leave a comment. Or come and join the conversations that we're having, you know. And if you feel the call, come and join me inside Reclamation this coming Saturday. I'll pop all the details here and I'll see you soon. Lots of love. Laura out.